All right. Hello, my friends. So today we are going to be talking about some of our vocabulary that we learned yesterday. We're going to go a little more in depth with it. But first, we're going to start with a little bit of a review. How many of y'all know how to use a plicker? This is kind of new to our class.
I don't know how to use a plicker.
You don't know how? Okay, Cody. Well, we can learn. So everybody's going to have a little code. And you're going to look at your code, and on the top or on the sides, there's a different letter on each side. So this side says A, this side says B, this side says C, and this one says D. So you're going to look up here at our question. Our warm-up question today is, what kind of rock is the number one arrow in the ocean pointing to? So right here is the number one arrow. So we're going to ask, is it an igneous rock, sedimentary, metamorphic, or is it just sand? So you're going to pick which answer you think is right and hold that answer at the top. So if I think it's option B, I'm gonna hold the B up at the top, all right? And then I'm just gonna take my phone real quick and scan all your answers, and it's gonna tell me exactly which answer you guys think it is. Excellent, good job, guys. All right, we got a lot of green answers, which means we got several right ones, but I'm gonna show you guys, it is actually option C, sedimentary. So we know it's probably sand, but that's not actually the type of rock it is, all right? We know it's not igneous because igneous comes from the lava in the volcano, and metamorphic is gonna be one of these rocks kind of in between, all right? So y'all remember that from yesterday?
No.
Yes. No? All right. So sedimentary rock right here. Right here. That is going to be formed from all the sediments and debris that just kind of fall into the ocean, all right? Metamorphic rock is going to be the ones that are kind of under pressure and they're in between stages. And then igneous rock is going to be our really dark, hard rock that comes from volcanoes. Yes, Marissa?
What about lava?
Lava? Well, when lava cools down, it's going to be something called obsidian, which is a really, really hard rock. So it's going to be a igneous rock. All right? Very good, guys. So we're going to watch a quick video just to introduce our lesson today. It's about two superheroes. I think y'all are gonna like it.
I like superheroes.
You like superheroes? I like superheroes
Me too, Cody.
Oh my goodness.
Bam! There you go. That's how we do.
Oh, you got it, you got it. Let me move it out of the way.
Nice. You're good, Zoe. Come on, let's play one more time.
Oh, I really can't. I've got to study for that weathering and erosion quiz tomorrow.
Zoe, playing Soup, Breaker, and Whoosh is just like studying weathering and erosion.
Somehow I think my teacher might disagree.
No. Check it out. In the game, Breaker and Whoosh are a superhero duo. They work together and change the land. Breaker things down, and Whoosh carries them away.
And what does that have to do with studying?
Weathering and erosion work together just like Breaker and Whoosh. They're a scientific super duo. Weathering is the breakdown of materials in the Earth's crust into... If weathering were a superhero, it would be Breaker.
Actually, that sort of makes sense.
Erosion is... Rock is carried away by gravity, water, wind, and ice. If erosion were a superhero, it would be Whoosh.
And you're right. Weathering and erosion work together and change the Earth. Just like a pair of superheroes.
Right. Think of weathering as a superhero that acts in different ways and breaks things down. It breaks down rocks with water. It wears things away with wind. It can even scorch or freeze the Earth with temperature, cracking and breaking it apart. When that's like this, it's called physical weathering.
Wow.
That's only the beginning. There's another whole side to personality. Chemicals in the air mix with water to make acid rain that eats away at limestone rocks. Oxygen reacts with iron and forms rust. That's chemical weathering.
Then, after weathering is done breaking things down, his trusty sidekick, erosion, steps in.
Yep. Erosion swoops in and picks up the pieces, carrying them. Erosion knows how to move, and it does it all sorts of ways. It's the flow of water that moves rocks and sand, the push of the wind that carries sediments away. Even the movement of a glacier, dropping pieces of rock at the bottoms of oceans and lakes.
Glaciers move?
Yeah, glaciers are giant moving rivers of ice. They carry along pieces of rock and then drop them as they move. It's called deposition because the glacier is making a deposit.
Weathering and erosion really are like a super duo. Who knew?
You knew. You just needed to stop playing all those video games and think.
Oh, look who's talking.
So, you want to play another game?
Let's see if I've got this weathering and erosion song and dance down first. Weathering and erosion work together and change the environment. Weathering breaks things down and can be physical or chemical. Erosion actually moves the sediment that weathering leaves behind. Together, they're constantly changing our environment.
Looks like someone just got all their studying done.
Thanks to your help.
We're a pretty super duo. Oops.
All right, guys. So what do you think? What do you think of Breaker and Whoosh?
I like them.
You like them?
Yeah. they
I'm
did a
so
good
glad you
job.
like them. All right, our objectives today, we're going to be learning more about weathering and erosion. We're going to work on our graphic organizer based on our PowerPoint that I'm going to get to explore with you guys today. And then at the end, we are going to write a couple sentences just about how we see weathering and erosion in our day-to-day lives. All right? So weathering, that was what Breaker was doing in that superhero video. What was Breaker doing when he saw rocks?
He broke them into smaller pieces.
He did. He broke them into smaller pieces, really small pieces. So as you can see on our notes, it says weathering is. And so you can go ahead and complete that sentence. Weathering is the breakdown of rocks into smaller pieces. And yesterday we learned what those small pieces are called. What are those small pieces called? Emily, what is it?
Sediment.
Sediment. Excellent, Emily. I'm so glad you were listening. You were doing so good. All right. What kind of rock does sediment make? We just talked about this with our warm-up. Do we remember? Marissa.
Is it sand?
It can make sand, yes, but there are three types of rock. We have igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary. Which one is it?
Is it sedimentary?
It is, Cody. Excellent. All right, so we have weathering is the breakdown of rocks into smaller pieces, and the pieces of weathered rock are called sediments. So let's look at some different kinds of weathering. So there are two kinds. There's physical weathering and chemical weathering. So physical weathering is changes that affect the look or the mineral of a rock or mineral, but it doesn't change what it's actually made of. Physical change only affects the appearance, but chemical changes actually break down the rock and change their mineral makeup. The resulting sediments have new chemical makeup. All right, so physical, it's only the appearance. Chemical, it actually changes the makeup of the rock. Physical changes. So there are 4 different kinds of physical change. One is abrasion. Abrasion is to remove the outer layer of rock. It's deeper than another kind that we're about to talk about. Have any of you guys ever been playing outside or in gym and you trip and you scrape your knee or you get a floor burn from the gym floors? Has that ever happened to any of y'all? Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it? And it kind of takes off a layer of your skin. Well, that's kind of what abrasion is. Abrasion is when maybe 2 different rocks or some wind just kind of rub against each other and take off that layer. It's kind of like scratching a rock. There's also ice wedging. So if you have a rock and you have some dips in it, some little holes, have you guys ever seen some really big rocks and maybe it looks like there's a teeny tiny little pond, like a little pond for bugs in the rock? Have you guys ever seen any water in the rocks? Yeah. I always like to pretend it's like a little bug swimming pool. It's kind of fun. But when it gets really cold, that water will freeze. And as we learned a couple weeks ago when we were talking about chemistry, we learned that when water freezes, it expands. So when it expands in the rock, it can actually crack the rock and break it. That's why when we remember somebody accidentally put a glass with some water in it in the freezer?
Yeah.
And it cracked. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what was happening. The ice expanded, so it can actually break rock. All right, the next change is biological. So have any of you guys ever been driving with your mom or your dad or your other parent, and you see on the walls or on the road, there's little flowers or little weeds kind of coming up out of the road, and you're like, how did that happen? They're just growing in a rock. Yeah, well, that's a biological change. Those roots can actually break the rock down and crack it. And that's another thing of weathering, we're breaking it down. And the last one is exfoliation. How many of you guys have ever heard of somebody exfoliating their skin? It's just taking off the last, like the very outer dead layer of skin.
Like in the shower.
Like in the shower, exactly. That is exactly what it is. So it's just when you're kind of very gently rubbing off the outer layer of a rock. It's not as deep as abrasion. It's not as deep as abrasion, but it still takes off a very small outer layer. Here's some examples. So right here, do you see the scrapes on this rock?
Yeah.
What would that be an example of?
Abrasion.
Abrasion. Excellent, Cody. And then up here, what do we see in this picture?
That's a big rock.
It is a very big rock. What's around it?
Ice in the background.
There is ice. Excellent observation. So there's ice, so we think it's probably cold. So what kind of change do you think that would be?
Biological changes?
It could be biological, but we also learned about ice wedging. Do you guys remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, light bulb moment. So it looks like maybe some water froze in this rock and cracked it. Yeah, very good. And then over here we have a tree growing on some rock. What do you guys think that one is?
Is that the biological
That's the
one?
biological one. Excellent, Cody. All right, let's look at chemical changes. There are two different kinds of chemical changes we're going to talk about. The first, we saw it in our video. It was called acid rain. It's when chemicals mix with the water and it turns the rain into an acid. So here you see that there's a statue. It probably didn't always look like that, but with years and years of acid rain raining on it, you see how it's kind of breaking down and it doesn't really look like it probably once did. Yeah. That's the result of acid rain. How many of you guys have ever seen a picture or actually seen the Statue of Liberty?
I have.
You guys have? You've seen a picture? That is so fun. What color is it?
Green.
It's green. Did you guys know that it wasn't always green?
No.
No.
Is it rock?
It isn't rock. It's a kind of mineral. It's called copper. It's like what we make our pennies out of. Actually, this is oxidation. It's another form of chemical change. It's when the chemicals and the minerals and the copper react with the oxygen around it in the air, and it turns kind of green.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So that's oxidation.
How old is it?
Really old?
Is it older than you?
Yes. Much older than me. Thank you, Marissa. All right. I think that's all we've got time for at the moment. So we're going to do a quick exit ticket. We're going to look at this one. So hold up your little clicker cards. And we're going to say, which of these is an example of weathering? Sand dunes forming on a beach, a mudslide taking sediments to a new place, wind picking up sediment, or acid rain breaking down a stone building. Okay, so let's see. Everybody have their cards?
Yes.
Everybody got them? Cody, I got yours. Marissa, Morgan, Emily, excellent. All right, I saw a few green, but it looked like we needed to go over these.
Yeah, I'm confused on
You're a
this
little
one.
confused? Okay.
I said acid rain.
You said acid rain? That is exactly right. Acid rain, it's like that statue we saw. It is breaking down the statue.
Oh.
All right, so all of these, do you remember in our video we had Whoosh who came in
Yeah.
and broke and took everything away? Well, that's an example of erosion, which we get to talk about tomorrow.
Oh.
So sand dunes forming on a beach, that's actually erosion. Mudslide is also erosion. And wind picking up sediment, that is another form of erosion. But acid rain breaking down a stone building, that's going to be our weathering.
Okay.
All right, can anybody think of another example of weathering that we talked about?
Uh,
Where do you see weathering in your own life?
What about if my fence gets rained on a lot?
That's a good example. And sometimes it kind of starts breaking down or
Yeah.
it starts rotting. Yeah, you have to replace
It turns brown.
It does. What about when you're driving? Do you guys ever hit bumps in the road because there's holes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another
I hate
form of
those.
weathering. It is so annoying.
My
isn't
mom
it?
hits them all the time.
Mine too. I think she actually searches them out. All right. Well, that was excellent, guys. All right. So your homework today is just to finish your sentences on how weathering impacts people in your day-to-day life. And then we'll discuss them tomorrow in our lab groups, all right? Y'all have a great day.